Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, members only live. I'm your host, obviously, Nathan Oakley, and if you're watching after the fact and you're new to the channel, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to take part in these members only live streams. Now, the reason this is going out as members only is because my computer failed, and therefore I'm going to spare myself the embarrassment of going out to a larger audience and sharing the love with you only, as we do have a complete live Discord and G Plus server all waiting in the wings to chat away. So I'm going to open the line to G Plus, who have heard me do this intro, and say hello to Neil and Refracted Curvature. How you doing, gentlemen?
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Sky.
The preponderance of evidence says that we're here.
Oh, we were talking about, Michael told me, the last thing he said to me was, there's a preponderance of evidence for Mandela for those who honestly look. So I asked John, should I have to look for evidence, or should there be evidence?
There should be evidence. We're an evidence-based, outfit, if you want to call us that.
Oh, welcome back, guys.
Yeah, I don't know how long the stream will last. I mean, I've got the computer running 2 or 3 times and it's crashed in all instances, but this time I've got it to the point where I can actually stream. So if it lasts 5 minutes, then oh well, I won't try again. But after an hour,
So would the stuff that we spoke about this morning make it to at least a little uncut show?
Oh yeah, the way I record, because of the computer being very temperamental, I've set up a way of recording that I can retrieve the recording, which is to say that I will do that. I might do that now, actually. I mean, we are live to members, but by the same token, I'm sure the members would appreciate the half an hour, 45 minutes of pre-show going out as the whatever number show this is pre-show. So I'll do that now. I'll redeem it, but it'll take a bit of concentration.
Let me jump in really quick. We got a familiar voice in Discord. You want to pipe up?
Whoever he may be,
take a
he's
while.
not going to have my attention because I'm distracted temporarily.
It's all right. We were talking with him before you guys came in, and so rudely interrupted us.
Sorry.
Paul, you want to say something? That wasn't that much, and it was low volume. It's Paul. Remember Paul, the panel member we had before? He used to be on the panel all the time. He just popped into Discord briefly, but he's dealing with his kids at the moment. You guys remember him dealing with his kids too?
Paul, which guy are you talking about?
The guy we used to jokingly confuse with John.
Oh, Paul. Yeah, Paul. How's he doing? I haven't heard from him in a while.
He's a big Mandela believer.
Yeah, actually, been feeling led. I was telling Righteous, I've been feeling led more to be more into the apologetic side. So I've been in other Discord servers doing my apologetic, getting beat up by atheists and trying to counteract atheists, that kind of thing. So that's where I've been.
Atheism? What's that, John? Paul? George?
They say they lack a belief in God. That's what they say.
A lack of belief in God?
You don't define yourself what you're not, do you?
Well, that's what they do. So they do. Hang on a second, I'm back. I gotta go. This is the nature of my life. Hang on.
Good to hear you, Paul.
Yeah, it's good to hear him.
I got 6 kids.
Yeah, she's gone now, but yeah. So yeah, that I agree with. Was it John talking? Yeah, I agree with you. That's what John says all the time. You don't define yourself by what you're not. So yeah, I agree.
John's got 6 kids. In other words, he's saying, "Get good, Paul." Being on the show and handling kids.
Well, what's your position on that whole Mandela thing, Paul? Because it's resurfacing very strong and causing a division in good Christians, should I say.
I have not really thought about it except back when I first looked into it. So that's a very hard thing to prove. I mean, you trust in your memory, which can be faulty, to try to prove something has changed is hard. So you'd have to have some kind of evidence, which would be hard to prove. So I'm skeptical, but I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm just skeptical about the skepticism of the Mandela.
Right. And if Satan had the power to change God's word, then God doesn't have all power and would cease to be God, and this conversation would not be going on. Because the Bible clearly states that his words are pure words, as silver tried in a furnace, purified 7 times. Thou shalt keep them, O Lord, forever. And now you're telling me that a created angelic being called Lucifer, right, is able to change the words in the book? Jesus is the word. Let's not lose sight. The word became flesh. You can't separate them. They are together.
I mean, me and Righteous have talked about this. I don't know if you remember. I remember us talking about this, Righteous. About if you're going to say the word has changed or the Bible's corrupted, somebody corrupted the Bible, you have to think logistic, not even a supernatural component of it, just the logistics of trying to change every copy of the Bible throughout the world to say that it's changed. You'd have to go and show us how that is even logistically possible, and it's not.
This argument doesn't appeal to logic, though, does it? If they're claiming that the entire timeline's changed, as I said when this cropped up last week, it parallels with a lot of Einsteinian notions that take you to pseudo dimensions, and they explain it with parallel timelines, all of which is Einsteinian in nature, diddling with time, and they're saying that, you know, if the change has occurred, then it changes as a timeline effect. They've got every little crappy answer under the sun to explain away nonsense that can't be proven and is unfalsifiable. Getting distracted.
Well, let's start from the beginning.
Just one little quick announcement. So in about 20 minutes or however long it takes to upload and process, the pre-show will be available to members. This is currently going out live only to members. So if you want to check out the pre-show, you can hear what we were vaguely discussing in the 5 minutes that I stayed live to the public. Anyway, I'll carry on.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Before we can discuss this, morning, Chocolate. Before we can discuss this as an effect, we need an area of a study to put in an effect. What is the area of study the Mandela effect is going to happen in?
Well, what would you say the area is? How would you do it? What are we studying?
Sounds like they're claiming physical reality has changed in the past, is what it sounds like.
Yes, and Chocolate is a witness of that because he remembers Star Wars as Luke, I am your father. I remember it as no, I am your father, which makes more sense if you listen to the whole context of the conversation Luke and Darth had. You would see that it says, no, I am your father. Because he said, Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. And Luke says, he told me enough. He told me you killed him. And then Darth responds, no, to the, I am your father.
Right. But what is the area, if you're going to call it an effect that we observe, is the area of study physics that we're going to classify this effect within?
It would have to be. Are words physical?
No. See,
Okay.
That's the thing.
All right, hold on. They're also changing. They're supposedly changing things in written words. They're also changing things on like movies that once had the A-Team with a black roof or something, or a red roof or something. Now it's different. You know, things like that. So that's physical, no?
Okay, so it sounds like they're trying to steal the validity of physics by calling it an effect. but they're not going to give you any such validation for this claimed effect, right?
According to Michael Kahn, I love you, Michael. You said there's a preponderance of evidence for those who honestly look. That's the answer you're going to get.
Well, the thing is, in physics, we have a way of elucidating the cause of effect. So what experiment will we do to validate this?
So you want to put it through the scientific method.
Well, they're trying to steal the valor from it. We might as well hold them to us, right?
Yeah, that should, right there, that should they should be walking away right now with their tail between their legs and their head down and say, oh, shoot, I've been duped. What the heck? I've been on Flat Earth Debate where we only stand by what can be validated. That's what separates us from all the other shows. And now you're being duped by a Mandela effect, a feast of nonsense, garbage, just as bad as ether.
Well, like, wasn't the movie Shazam a big one? And then he himself came out like years later and apologized to everybody. He's like, "I'm sorry, guys. I was high on crack, and they paid me a lot of money to say I didn't make it." And it's like, well, first of all, who's they? And then, like, second of all, me myself personally, I remember watching that movie as a kid with my cousin. Like, I remember watching him in Shazam. It was, like that was a given for me. That's why when I heard that being a part of the Mandela effect, that it never existed, I was like, that's bullshit. I know for a fact I watched it as a child. And then years later, he comes out and said,
You know for a fact.
yeah,
So you
yeah, I
know for
watched
a
it.
fact you watched a movie that doesn't exist.
No, but it does exist. That's what I'm saying. Like, he came out and even said, "Hey guys, I'm sorry." Like, he apologized to all his fans who, like, a lot of people were hitting him up. Like, "Hey, like, why are you saying you never made that movie?" And he's like, "No, I was never in it. I was never in it." Then years later, he comes out and says he like did this one interview. He's like, "Yeah, look, I just want to apologize for
Hold on, who? You got to tell us who. I don't know who you're talking about.
the guy that plays Shazam. What's his name? I forget his name. The tall black dude, light skinned black guy.
Sinbad.
Sinbad, that's the name.
Sinbad.
Yeah, Sinbad. He comes out and he did a video and he like apologized to his fans. And he said like that he got paid a lot of money to act like he never made that movie. Which would kind of like go along the lines of it was a complete psyop. Go ahead.
So the movie that no one can show that exists in a physical copy, right?
People
that
do
does
have
not
it.
exist.
It does exist. You can't keep
Okay.
saying that.
He's saying, let me
It
just
does
summarize.
exist.
I'm only paying half attention. He's saying as follows: a movie gets made called Shazam, and Sinbad's in it. Years later, they approach him and say, "All you need to do is say you were never in this movie. That's it." And he goes, "Okay." They pay him. He starts saying, "No, I was never Sinbad I was never Shazam, right?" And by chance, a few people do have copies of it. Say, here he is in Shazam. Why is he saying he isn't in it? Here he is in it. And then he explains, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I lied. They paid me a lot of money to say I wasn't in it when I was." Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely
not
correct.
a Mandela
And then
effect.
Hold on, John.
and then I
That's not
and then I
then.
No,
I saw the movie. I remember.
Hold on, everyone stop. No, that is not the Mandela effect. That is literally somebody trying to change history. Yeah? That's not a Mandela effect, correct? Carry on, my friend.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. Like that when that came out as like Sinbad never did Shazam, and that's a Mandela effect. I was like, well, that's bullshit because that's the whole Mandela effect would be like like the monkey without the tail and the Berenstain or Berenstein, like all this other physical change of this, like what you're talking about, like this reality, this another dimension where Berenstain became Berenstein or vice versa, or the Curious George had a tail which I remember too as a kid in kindergarten. Like I used to have a Curious George with the tail, like as a kid. Like I could probably, whatever. People are presenting this evidence, like because some people have it up in the attic somewhere. So you can't say like it didn't exist because it does exist, which is it kind of invalidates the whole Mandela effect psyop that I think is that's being trying to push upon everybody. I just think it's more of a psyop, but it is.
There
What
you go. So,
All right, you said,
so you understand
but you,
he's agreeing with you, John, right? He's saying he thinks it's all nonsense based on if they're trying to peddle the idea that things have changed. They're using examples where things that really do exist have been claimed not to.
that's not the Mandela effect, but
No.
I do want to see the Shazam movie. I'm asking him to cite to me where I can go watch it, because other than that, it's just talk.
Yeah, a lot of people, not a lot actually, oddly enough, some people do have the full movie and even posted it, and you can actually find it online somewhere. But a lot of things online have been like digitally scrubbed. So like you're gonna have to find someone that has the old classic VCR cassette in their house still, because a lot of people don't even have VCR cassettes anymore. Like those things just got they took up
So
room in the
you
storage, I guess. Huh?
so you've not seen this. You're taking the word that it does exist because someone said it exists, right?
No, I've seen the movie. Me and my cousin, I remember very, very vividly. We were living in Montebello, and we were eating popcorn, and we had like I remember watching that movie, and as it was on a cassette deck. That's why when this first happened, and me and my cousin that are still very good cousins, we were like, "What? That's total bullshit!" Like we watched that movie like multiple times too, and it was like, dude, we were little though. We were little kids. Like this is way back in grade school. We were watching it. And that's why it's stupid to say that movie doesn't exist. Well, then I don't exist right now, then, guys, and I don't know. I'm a brain in a vat, I guess, and I'm just here,
Maybe,
not physically.
maybe your cousin doesn't exist. Have you checked?
Yeah, there you
Is
go.
he still around?
No, no.
There you go. I made him up. Yeah.
I would. I have been looking for this movie that you say does exist. I never seen it when I was a kid. I don't know what people are talking about. I would like to see it. I'm asking you, say you can point to it or people do point to it. I'm just asking, where do I go to find it, to watch it?
No, yeah. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know because things like that are hard to find online. You would literally have to find someone like I don't know, get on Facebook or somewhere where you guys can message each other and ask, hey, do you have a hard copy of of Shazam? And there are people that have it because there are YouTube videos that people say. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of them are fake too because they're just trying to get clicks and views. But there are people that are like, here it is. I have it right here. I have it in a VCR cassette, and they pull it out and they pop it in. They hit play, and you see Sinbad and this genie. The way he was dressed back then, the little kid, the little actor that he was with. I like, and they're like, okay, there it is. That's proof. Like this Mandela effect's stupid, and then that's the end of their YouTube. But what happens to those YouTube videos? I don't know. Do they take them down? I don't know because, like I said, it's hard to find these things online because they get digitally scrubbed. But the point was Sinbad himself. He came out in multiple interviews. He apologized to everybody and said I was high on drugs back then. They offered me a lot of money. They told me just to deny that I was ever even a part of something like that. And he said, and they took he said something like kind of like they spent a lot of money to make sure that video didn't exist anymore. Like even from homes, like
Hold on.
I don't know how, I don't know why.
So that doesn't make sense. So you can watch
It
the
all doesn't
video of him expressing that this happened, but you can't find the video no more.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you can find
You
it. You just
see,
gotta kind of search.
that's kind of contradictory.
No, I get what you're saying, but the video does exist, and I'm telling you, I watched it. Like for instance, I watched Peter Pan as a kid, right?
Here,
A play of Peter Pan. Hold on. Let me finish this real quick. I watched a play of Peter Pan. I'll never forget that because I watched it like 10 times as a child. Like I was like probably 5 or 6 years old, and my mom used to play it for me all the time. I cannot find that fucking play online anywhere,
Okay, stop,
and I know it exists.
Stop. Number one, stop swearing. Please stop swearing.
Oh, my bad.
Okay. We are going out to the public now, so yeah. Okay. Number one, stop swearing. Number two, he's scattergunning us. So he's trying to just stick to one example, which is how I used to do this when I cared. But Sinbad, okay, if it's not just your memory, yeah, your memory could be wrong. I know you're very, very keen to say, I know, I remember, but without any actual evidence to show that it does exist as a video, and you're saying, no, Sinbad came forth and apologized for saying he wasn't in a movie when he really was. Okay,
right.
Would you not agree that it is equally likely that Sinbad, who's according to you a crackhead, was paid to say, I'm sorry, I said I wasn't in a movie that I was, when he wasn't? It's just as likely that he could spin it the other way until there's some evidence. Now, if you're saying, yeah, we can easily, here's a link, here's him in the video. I'm not, by the way, disagreeing or agreeing either way. I'm just saying that in the pre-show, we're ascribing all of the reasons why your memory might be wrong about a given subject. If all you've got to do at that point is lean on your memory and then give us a new example where you remember something, we're saying that it falls short for John, which he had obviously sniffed out while I was only paying half attention. But do you have a clip or a link to the original Sinbad Shazam movie?
I honestly don't have one, but I'm pretty sure if we really looked into it, we all can find it.
Yeah. We don't want to hear how much we need to look into the failure for you to back this, to say that, no, it's the annoying thing is you're trying to say no, based on the fact that Sinbad came forth and said this, and I know it did exist, it affirms my idea that it's a psyop. It's just a way of them controlling the way that people believe there is a Mandela effect when no such beast exists, but they'll conjure a few examples to lend a bit of credence to it, and you're flying in the face of that, which I agree with. The problem comes when you don't back your example to show no actual media memory holding in this example, because we've got a character claiming not to be in a movie that he has been in, and here's him in it. Until you've got the and him in it bit, it immediately loses credibility, which is a real shame.
Yeah, well, I think it's best I just try to find the movie.
To help you. I'm trying to help you with your claim. I'm not attacking your position. I'm just asking for evidence. And you're telling me I need to go find it, but that's not how. Never mind.
No, maybe it'll just be better if I just find it for you. And like I was saying, though,
for you,
that's why I was giving an example.
Just stop a second. He's going to take umbrage with that, and before he does, no, for you, it's your claim. Now, even though you and I are in alignment with your premise, I agree 100% with the notion that you are postulating and the reasons you use to debunk it. It just lacks the evidence to substantiate that which you've proposed. And then the evidentiary standard that you've offered up to debunk Mandela is the same evidentiary standard they use to present it as true. I just remember it as being definitely true, and then here's someone else stating that it's true without the evidence of either, for them, a change, or for you, a lack of change. But you've still got to present it if that's your claim.
Yeah, no, and I get it. And then here's another thing too. Let's say somebody says, well, I remember this and this and that and that. And then you're like, well, but it doesn't exist. Okay, so if they find one of those things and say, here it is, here's the proof, then does that make everything else that they say now trustworthy and valid? I think it's probably fair to say, because he wasn't lying about this first thing, let alone the second, third, and fourth thing, that the powers that be or whatever who's even started this is trying to force upon people as this said effect. Like I said, or I was trying to say.
Wait, hold on.
I know. Go ahead.
Yeah, John.
Oh, you just said Sinbad was a liar and he is not a liar simultaneously. So did he lie to his fans or did he lie to his fans? Because he did lie to his fans in one particular statement. So when he either lied when he said it never happened, or he lied when he said it did happen, and they paid him to lie. So
Well,
it's
again,
a lie one
I
way
can
or
only
the
speak.
other. His
I can only speak
credibility.
for myself. I can only speak for myself because I mean, it's my memory, my reality. I would say he lied when he said he didn't make it because I saw it. Same thing as if you were to watch the Super Bowl and someone says the Kansas City Chiefs were in the Super Bowl this year. Well, they're lying because you're going to see it. And then you're going to know that they're lying when they're like, oh, dude, the Kansas City, you're going to be like, no, you're a liar, bro, because I saw them. I watched it myself. They were in the Super Bowl. So, like, I don't know. But again, it would be different if, like, all the
You're
games
expressing
in the
a
Super Bowl were
burden
based. Hmm?
of proof reversal in this case as your evidence for your burden of proof. You need to show the existence instead of talking about someone claiming that something didn't exist. I'm not taking any position.
No, like I said, I get what you're saying. I understand it. It's just like, but like you said, like you can't find it anywhere. And I said, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to find it online. It's hard to find it anywhere. Just like I was trying to like even go in a further step and say, yeah, I used to watch this Peter Pan movie play, and that my mom used to always play for me, and I watched it like 10 times in a row. And I used to know all the songs, everything, bro. Like I was 5 years old. I used to, and then you can't find it anywhere online no more. Like it's gone. Like it's that. Like if it never was made. And I could see this. I could sing the songs from that play, which aren't in the Peter Pan movie. But that play's gone. That movie's gone. Like I don't know what happened to it. So that's that's the weird thing.
Well, see, the burden is on the one that claims existence in this case, right? Let's just get the steps we have to take. You say that it does exist. Sinbad lied initially, and then now he's saying it does exist. We've not seen that it exists. You claim that you've seen it exist, but at that moment, the burden is on you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, like if I say I watch the Super Bowl next week, and I'm like, hey, I watched Super Bowl. You're like, okay, really? Well, you have evidence of that? No, I get it. I get what you're saying. You have to prove it because I've said it, but I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Okay, so when we argue in a 2024 mentality with things like Earth Curve, I am currently trying to take people to the practical application of things when it comes to how we deal with Earth. So they say, well, how does sunrise and sunset work? Well, we're utilizing the sun off a flat plane. Ergo, you take it to its practical application. When it comes to clone centers, Mandela effect, ether, although it has got a carrot dangled out there, like there's a potential in the future for some sort of free energy or something, there's never any actual practical application that you can show. With navigation, I can show how Earth being flat has a practical use. Tracking the sun has a practical use. With mapping, navigating, charting the world as we have done so. So when it comes to this, I just have to ask you, if it's something that you've been interested in the past, or have come to the conclusion that is as you called it, a psyop, what was it that, as you were progressing through that discovery journey, if you will, that you saw had a practical application of any description?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. The description of the Earth? Is that what you're saying?
No. So when someone asks me how the sun rises or sets, I say I don't make any claims about what the sun is, but I do know that we've tracked its movements to be able to plot maps. Therefore, I take their question about how day and night works and explain how a practical use of the sun that they can easily verify proves something. In this instance, that's a practical application for the sun. And I'm saying, by contrast, is there a practical use for, and I'm now going to tie it in with all the other crap, no offense, clone centers, ether, Mandela effect. I could name a whole dozen more. But what do you benefit from it practically?
Nowadays, nothing. It doesn't do anything for anybody nowadays because the arguments are so far out there and way out there, and everyone's, especially the way people discuss things and debate things nowadays. It's like we're living in a weird time, Nathan. To be honest, like you got to be careful how you say things, what you say. People are saying they don't remember this happened or it did happen. People say they trust because everybody else believes it to be this way or that way. I don't know. We're just living in really weird times. I think personally, it's just I'm
Okay.
surprised.
There's a
There's still
question
channels
to make it more selfish,
Right.
if you will, or internalize it more. You're walking along the street and someone comes up to you with a clipboard and starts saying, "Can you give me 35 minutes of your time, please?" And you go, "Hell no," and walk on by, regardless of how worthy their cause may seem. 35 minutes of your time is too valuable, right? Same scenario.
Right.
Somebody walks up to you with a clipboard and says, "Can I have 5 minutes of your time? I will give you $100." And they pull out the note and say you can have it in advance. They put it in your hand, and you think, 5 minutes, $100, and you give up your time. Because there's a question you ask yourself at the point that they approach you: what's in it for me? What do I get out of this interaction? Nothing. It's fruitless. Doesn't benefit me on one iota beyond your worthy cause that you have to sell me as being tugged on the heartstrings for, or whatever it is that they're appealing to you for. Yeah. Versus,
Right.
here's $100. Oh, that's something I can see is definitely in it for me. Do you see the contrast? Now, with that in mind, you come to Taylor Swift as a clone. All right. That's a fascinating statement of completely unverifiable and unvalidated nonsense. What's in it for me to now walk down this rabbit hole? What at the end of a notion of clone centers do I or will I benefit from it? Garbage though it is, because I could just put that into absurdium very quickly. Now, it's only one step up the absurd ladder when I say Mandela effect, but what's in it for me with your Mandela effect? I'm putting this on your shoulders where I know clearly that you stand in opposition to this, by the way. I tried to phrase it about your journey towards this. What was in it for you? What practical application does it have?
For me, nothing other than just a discussion, an argument. But I do want to say like you're talking about like Taylor Swift being a clone and stuff. I feel like that's equivalent to like clickbait. Like it's just to get viewers, just to get like people to go check out their social media videos that they're posting to get millions of views of somebody talking about something so weird and crazy. That's kind of like the society we're living in right now, where it's all about getting paid for views and the content that you're putting out there. So yeah, you find people saying some weird stuff nowadays, and even doing stuff weird nowadays, but just for the views because that generates money. So it's more. I think it's more of a monetary thing, to be honest. All this nonsense. It's
Oh,
because
I
it
agree.
generates
I
money.
mean, I'm not disputing the motivation. I'm just looking for the motivation of the viewer as opposed to the motivation of the producer. Yeah, I totally get
Oh,
that.
gotcha.
Feast on nonsense in our arena is far more profitable because it's needed in the controlled opposition narrative of Flat Earth. You need us to be making certain points and adhering to certain arguments for our opposition to be able to brace against those specific arguments. So therefore, to a certain extent, if you're propping up those Flat Earth arguments that are ready and primed for our opponents to debunk, then you will get a certain amount of success just through propping up the controlled op narrative, the opposition controlled op narrative they want out there. And that is the same with things like Mandela. You say it's clickbait, but the only things that are allowed to be offered up to the people are the algorithmically favoured things. Let's be honest, we know that. It only makes sense, right? They go to Congress
Right.
to discuss what should or shouldn't be algorithmically censored. Ergo, when you're being offered up garbage like Mandela and clone centers, there's a reason why you're being offered it in the lowest quality from the most conspiratorial person you can possibly picture. Yeah? But
True.
there's got to be something that appeals to you about it. and everybody else. It's the conspiratard fantasy that is the Feast of Nonsense when it's bundled in the same basket with Flat Earth. When we are so devoid from speculation about underground clone centres and Mandela effect as you could possibly be. We've got a practical application that we can apply to our subject matter. Unlike Mandela, unlike clone centres, unlike ether.
Right. I hear you.
I like being in a position where I don't necessarily have to clickbait my audience to get a point across. I don't have to do that. So in the last couple of months, financially, YouTube have strangled me more and more and more. And eventually I've hinted at that at my audience, and several of them have come forth with PayPal donations. I have had trouble with my email, so I've lacked a response to the people who have sent me a couple of PayPals because I've gone, oh yeah, I'm struggling to pay my mortgage at the moment, which is true. Not unpredicted in this particular, not only climate, but the time of the year. But nevertheless, people have reached out and gone, you're struggling, here's some money. I'm very grateful that that is the kind of community that me personally, have built around me with decent information that isn't clickbait, that isn't suckering someone into the fantasy that I can sell them to replace some paradigm that we've presumably, if it's us, taken away from them. Well, I don't have to do that. I'm glad I don't have to do that. That would stress me out
Right.
because you'd feel like a charlatan. Doesn't
Right.
need to be clickbaity. Globe debunked. How much more clickbaity do you need? Still doesn't make it through algorithmically, though, does it? It doesn't matter how clickbaity the title may seem. If it's not reaching an outsider, it's only clickbait to somebody who's outside of this subject. Globe fake. You can get much more clickbaity. But if it's not served up to a guy who thinks he's on a globe, means nothing. To somebody in this arena, you see me making a thumbnail that says globe debunked, globe smashed, globe annihilated. Doesn't matter how clickbaity I make that seem, trying to sex it up. The reality is that's the fact of the matter. It is debunked in the video. There's a logical consistency offered. There's a piece of evidence offered. But whether or not that's presented to man who finds that to be clickbait is a different story. And we are absolutely algorithmically strangled. So therefore, there's a greater temptation to buy into the feast of nonsense, talk more rubbish, produce more garbage content, speculative in nature, and clickbait the hell out of the audience. But fortunately for me, I'm not in that position. I'm more financially reliant on my community than I am on the ad revenue that YouTube don't give me anymore.
Oh, that sucks. They demonetized you?
No, they haven't demonetized me. They've just crippled me. They just demonetized the video temporarily for the first 24 hours while they assess it. Even if I put it through their algorithm where they check it before you publish it, within 10 seconds of being published, it goes back to a different color icon and gets demonetized for the length that my very short-lived videos will stay financially viable and generate ad revenue. So if it's cobbled for the first 24 hours, if I'm putting out 4 videos a day, how long do you think the life of that video is? Very short.
Right.
So therefore, I said this the other day. I don't want to rehash what I said on the other show. I mean, it makes maybe a couple of $100 difference to me a month. And most people are like, well, who cares? But to me, that's the difference between towing the line and not towing it, and it very quickly slips out of control if that continues. But like I say, a couple of people have reached out to me. I haven't thanked them yet because my iPad seems to be ballsing up and not presenting email. It just gives me a load of blank, empty boxes where email should be. But I've had flash notifications that people have sent me PayPal. I don't even know how much. I should really check and thank them more importantly than anything. But like I say, the fact that I know in the back of my mind that people have read between the lines when I've said basically I'm poor, I don't have to do, sorry, Arwin, you just got to suck up the reputation you're going to get if you do this. Go nuts into the camera and go, oh my God, it's all going terribly wrong. Financially, people hate that. You want to give an air of positivity. And the reality of this particular channel at the moment, if you look at my stats, is that every single stat is up. Viewers up. Watch time up. Number of views up. Income down. You're like, what am I going to do? Well, in reality, moan about it and then people will help you out is the reality. Rather than clickbait the crap out of people is the end of my point. I'll summarize it again. I'm done.
I did realize this morning too, your show, like it's still, I know I told you this months ago. Your show still, I'll get the notification, but if I was just to go online and like my homepage, even though I like follow you, like usually whoever's live that I'm subscribed to will pop up on my homepage all the time, every time. But for some reason, they block your channel from being on my homepage when you're streaming live, and that's messed up. Like I'm just telling you that that's messed up that they do that. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that, or if I'm the only one that that you're being blocked from. I don't know.
Oh,
But when I
absolutely
go
not.
to my
I get
homepage,
reports like that from people all the time, and I experience it. I've got 4 channels, so I can interact, although I'm sure they're in some way algorithmically linked to one another. But I can get a general idea of how it looks if I go into it's actually called Flat Earth Debate, but one of my wife's old channels that used to be called Audio Paula, I renamed Flat Earth Debate and just have periodically used it for live streaming if I've had an issue or something like that. But I can go into that account and have a look at the general lay of the land in terms of what's going on as it's not my channel that I'm looking at it with. And yeah, I can see it for myself. People tell me about it all the time. And in terms of how much popularity we can glean algorithmically, that was changed the moment they had that meeting with Congress. Right, so you're going to tell people underneath the video the Earth's not flat? Yes, we will. And then they just flicked a few switches and we got switched off and Simon Dan got switched on. And then every time you searched for subject matters and tags and specific stuff that's going to be in the closed captions that we are talking about, it does not favour us in any way. Even if you're searching for very specific things that we've talked about, it doesn't. It'll just give you the anti-flat Earth equivalent. That is to say, where we would have been doing okay pre-Congress meeting with YouTube, those views, every single one of them just went to our competitors.
yeah, and there's a workaround around that too, Nathan. I don't know if I know I've said this before, and it was something that I was like, man, everyone should know this. And I think I even brought this up to you before. It makes a difference because obviously when you type in flat earth, like the default is recommended. So like obviously you're going to get all the anti-flat earth stuff. But the trick to that, because they suppress it like in a sneaky way, the trick to that is you just change the filter to upload date. And if you type in like flat earth upload date and filter and hit search, like then you'll see what you're looking for, even by title. Like that's what's weird. You can put the title of the thing you're looking for and it still won't pop up. But when you put upload date, that video will be right at the top. Like boom, it'll be there. So I think your audience needs to know this too. Like I think everybody should know this, be honest. Instead of
Yeah, I'm
whenever
aware
you
of
search
it.
for anything.
Yeah, I do that
Oh,
as well. Again, as much as yes, you should. I should as well make my audience aware of the various different filters that you can apply. Top right hand corner, if you're searching on a phone or a tablet, there's a 3 little dots that you can press after you've done your search. You press those 3 dots and it brings up an entire list of things. For example, you can search for videos that are live, things that are uploaded in the last day, week, month, year, etc., etc. So you can apply various different filters through YouTube, but they're poor too. So Mr. Cheswick over a couple of weeks ago was on a bit of a tip to show other programs that you could put into your tab that would allow the tab, I don't know how you phrase that, to do all the filtering for you. And he was showing that even with YouTube's own filters in place and an absolute ton of his own filters in his search engine, it still took an eternity and a million different filters for Mr. Cheswick to actually get to the material that he's wanting to be presented to him, or would have been presented to him pre-Congress meeting with YouTube. It's not designed for you to find us anymore, and it hasn't been for a very long time.
right. They just made it extremely difficult.
I've got absolutely terrible audience numbers now because I've done a live stream which has ended, and then it's had a follow-up live stream, and the follow-up live stream gets even less love. So I've got about half the viewers that we would normally because my computer crashed. But such is life.
Nathan, I thought the computer issues were settled.
Yeah, it's been
What
absolutely
happened?
perfect for about. I told you last time, I was like, yeah, it'll probably be fine for a couple of weeks, and then unexpectedly it'll crash. And then right on cue, a couple of weeks later, with absolutely no warning, with me not changing a single smegging thing, middle of a live stream, actually going out live, just turned off. And to get it working, I had to take out the bottom sticker RAM, reset the BIOS completely, that is to say the equivalent of taking out the little what you call it, battery, although there's a button on my motherboard to do that. I had to reset the whole motherboard, which means Elgato all balls up and it resets the iGPU. So then after setting it once, I then had to go back into the BIOS and turn the iGPU on so it can encode the live stream. Once I got it working with one stick of RAM, I'm like, well, it's running like crap. I'm going to have to try and get the other stick to work, which I eventually did. Then it crashed after setting up for a third time. I'm like, I'll give it one last go. If it succeeds, I'll do another live stream. If it doesn't, I won't. By then, I'd already contacted Craig 2 or 3 times and said, can you come and swap this RAM for the old RAM? I used to have a 4-kit stick. Is that right? 4-stick kit, that's right, of RAM. And it kept on overheating, so I swapped it to a different kit. There was only 2 sticks. Now I think one of the sticks is faulty in the new set. So I've asked Craig, because he's got smaller fingers, I physically can't do this. I'm not dexterous enough to do it. And he said he will come over tomorrow and swap out whichever 2 of the old 4 sticks that I've got into the slots so that hopefully it'll boot with that configuration and stop crashing. Because I do actually think one of the sticks is just buggered. Because it kept giving me, prior to this, I say without warning, kept on saying memory couldn't be written 000 error code or some stupid nonsense. So while I say it's without warning, it isn't. It's just been it's been working generally. But it's the most temperamental computer I've ever owned. So, you know, the fact that it's worked for a couple of weeks and is now seemingly functioning fine again, and probably will do for another 10 days if Craig didn't come tomorrow and do nothing. You know what I mean? If I did absolutely nothing, it'd probably work for another 10 days. So there we go.
Yeah, the funny thing is, John's like, I was on a call with DoorDash, and I hear John Refracted's voice saying, Neil, did Nathan disappear? I'm like, what the heck? I didn't even know because I wasn't even on. I paused the show, and then I come back, and the show's gone. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I thought these issues were resolved.
Yeah, well, after that, I literally had to disassemble parts of the computer to get inside it so I could get to the back of the motherboard because the computer's inside out and back to front in terms of how it's built, to get my hands blind into the slots so I could release one of the sticks, try and boot it without it working, then click that one back in place and remove the other stick, boot it, which it did work with 1 stick, then tried to get it working with 2 sticks, which I finally did. Now we're on a show again, so we're rolling. Anyway,
nice. You're vigilant, Nathan. You're very vigilant. I give you credit.
I just know the routine. I know the routine of what to do when RAM goes wrong, which I really wish I did not know how to do, but I do. You know, within an hour of the computer completely failing, and for most people, if your computer fails like that, goes black, and you just press the on button, it doesn't come back on again. That would be it for most people. It's take it down to the computer shop time. It doesn't come on. Whereas for me, at least I know which bits and bobs to take out of the motherboard to get it to post again. Anyway, it's working now.
Well, back to Flat Earth. I just want to compliment you the other day on the Ballbuster show because you pulled QE's coat. You told him we don't train the time. And he could not say anything about that because that's his saying, right?
Yeah, but
that was good. I liked the way you did that.
Only I could play that card in that moment because John understands and appreciates all of the arguments up until that point and just wants to move on because the show's lagging. But that's down to his superior intellect and understanding, whereas I, in an ignorant position, I've got every right to say, no, I want to slow down. I want to understand this because I didn't. I was contemplating it on the way to my youngest daughter's home ed class today, right? I was thinking about it. How can I always want to simplify things and get them in as few words as possible so you can get them out before interruption. Right? And what Brian was trying to illustrate to me that I just couldn't get in the moment is if you're drawing out a tangent plane and inferring that the points on the ground match the globe, then those longitude and latitude lines are the geometric positions on the globe and obviously don't match with any tangent plane when you're deriving it from a tangent plane horizon or 90 degrees from zenith. Whatever you're doing to have a single point on a globe, you're immediately throwing away all of the claim to be latitude and longitude points that match along the surface of their globe underneath that tangent plane. In other words, it immediately breaks their claim that it matches with the globe. But I just wasn't getting it. I couldn't, it wasn't sinking in.
Yeah, well, I was right with you too, so I was glad that you held him to that because I wasn't getting it either. And you said you're speaking for the audience too, because if you're not getting it, there's a good possibility that a lot of the audience ain't getting it. And I was one of them.
Yeah. Hello, QE, by the way.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, so check out Ballbusters. I even did a little advert for it. Did you notice?
Yep.
So I put the title as something like Day and Night, the Ballbusters Standard. And it's a trimmed out section of Ballbusters basically going over a clip of me on an AMA talking about or being asked about how day and night works and saying, well, we know how Earth's mapped with the sun. In other words, a loose connection to their question that I'm not prepared to answer because I'm not making any claims about it. And QE held that up as a high standard of answer. So I just trimmed out the whole thing where he's discussing that and explaining why it's a high standard of answer. We don't have any Bible that we're having to adhere to. Heliocentric Bible, that would be. That we have to keep rhyme and reason in terms of the justifications given in that rhetoric. Their rhetoric on our opposing side is set in stone, and the whole shtick up until recently has been to get us to stack up a false dichotomy claim against their claim, where you're suddenly forced into a corner of having to make a claim about something you hadn't even possibly considered until you got into this subject genre. Suddenly you're being asked or demanded to describe how the sun and the moon work in their cycles. You're like, whoa. Did I say that proved a flat Earth to have to justify this? No, I did not. I didn't make any claims about this. Why am I being held to task? Oh, because you've got a claim that it goes behind a physical geometric sphere edge hill horizon debunked by the black swan. So I've got to justify how sun works with your day and night cycles because they fail. And when you've got me to hold up a crappy claim with an azimuthal map and a light twirling over the top of it, you can say how that fails. And everyone will forget how you haven't got a geometric horizon, which we've debunked. In reality, you don't have to defend any claims. You don't have to justify why you can't explain something if you haven't made a claim about it. Bearing in mind the only reason you'll be being asked that is because they absolutely will have a claim about it, and it's probably on very, very shaky ground.
How's the right appear to rise or lower the sky help them
It doesn't.
in day and night?
It doesn't. It's a flat Earth proof in terms of every description you'll ever give for that effect ever. How you'll describe it mathematically will be with respect to a horizontal plane of reference, and it doesn't help them.
No, but they've been programmed to believe that. That's why it's one of the go-to affirming the consequent fallacies that the globe side has. Right? How many times have you heard, well, sunsets, bro? Just the fact that they exist means we're on a globe. Right? How many times have we heard that? That's the go-to.
Yeah. Till you define what a sunset is, that's where.
Hold on. John, that's what causes Anthony Riley, if he was going to go back to the ball, it's because of sunsets.
Well, I might have said that about 8 years ago.
No, he said it recently. Right the same day that you had that whole spiel. Or it might have been the day before.
Okay, well, it's not here to defend that. I don't remember him saying that.
It was the day before, and I don't want to attack Anthony, but yeah, when you're talking about sunset, right, you're talking about it lowering in the sky with respect to a flat plane. Well, that doesn't help a globe.
Oh, dear. Talking about up and down again?
Basically.
Yeah, you're talking about an angle, an elevation angle to a celestial body, getting closer to the horizon, or it's their problem, not ours.
Can I do a shameless plug? I'm going to release probably in a couple of hours after this show finishes an excerpt from one of the members only shows, I believe it was. And it's the guy telling us the story about going to Lapland. Was anybody around when that story got told? It was when we were in Flat Earth
That was pretty
24/7.
good.
Yes, I remember.
Yep.
That was priceless. I just don't know which one to release first. So I've got two examples where someone's telling a story about mapping and navigating on Earth. And then when it gets to us taking parts of their story and pointing out how, like with this sunset example, you're going to need a flat Earth to describe it mathematically. And in fact, it is described with a flat Earth. They then, and in the examples, it's Brenda and some random from 24/7, both deny that it's the ground they're talking about. Now, it was far more severe with the guy talking about Lapland because the specifics of his story are about a journey of discovery to validate that angles taken off a flat Earth match up better on a globe. That was his story. The whole purpose of the story is to talk about elevation angles being globular. I kid you not. You couldn't make this stuff up. This would only happen in 24/7, right? Because the guy just by chance hasn't heard us rhetorically talking about elevation angle measurements only being possible on flat Earth. So when he starts his description, he blags the audience, that would be the Discord server, that he's got a spherical coordinate system when he's talking about latitude. John pipes up, that's not a spherical coordinate system. What are you talking about? Oh, I might have misspoke. He continues with his story until it proves a flat Earth. Then he denies that it's the ground that they're measuring and navigating with. And measuring it they are, because that's his story. So it's really egregious when he denies that it's the ground. Like, much more overt than it was with Brenda, who just ham-handedly said, well, it's not the ground. We don't need the ground when we take 90 from a zenith. Well, where are you going to get that from, tool-wise? Oh, from a horizon mirror. That was her fail. Far less egregious than someone literally claiming that a story about navigation and a journey to Lapland is going to better prove a globe because of flat Earth elevation angles. I mean, my succinct summary is actually how that story rolled. Let me tell you about some flat Earth angles that I took in this story, because we're going to be proving a globe with them. Excuse me, sir. Those are flat Earth angles. Why didn't I start this story already in Lapland? If I'd have done that, I wouldn't have had to prove a flat Earth. That's basically how it rolled. So I'll release that later today.
So wait a second.
At
It
one
pertains
point, he
to the
did try to
ground when it's-
smuggle in.
Neil, then chocolate.
Go ahead, Neil.
So it pertains to the ground when they were doing celestial navigation on a globe, when they said it only works on a globe. But now that we've proven that it has to be done in a flat Earth, the ground don't exist.
It's just no,
Are you
they're not
kidding me?
referencing. They're saying they're not referencing the ground. The moment the ground is flat and has to be so for the measurement that they've just described, it's not the ground. There's another third example I'll give in a minute. Go ahead, chocolate. A PC crashed
I was
again.
going to say the guy did try to smuggle in a little. Oh, you can take an elevation angle from a flat plane or a curved Earth, real quick. Like he tried to say it, like kind of. I don't know. Maybe that's just how I heard it. He kind of tried to sneak it in there under his breath and then not address it again.
Yeah, he did that, and that's where he exited stage right, because I held him to task when we got him to essentially admit, although he wouldn't actually say the words, that he'd measured a flat Earth and that was the only way it was possible. He said, okay, well, if this is done on a flat Earth, and I stopped him and said, no, I'm not going to take this to a hypothetical scenario when your story absolutely unequivocally required Earth to be flat for the functionality you described with elevation angle measurements out in Lapland. No. Okay. If it's a globe or if it's flat, I'll continue with my story. And I'm like, no, I won't let you take it to false dichotomy either, because it can't be a globe. And again, he'd been had to task on that, right, Chocolate? No. I think it was you that brought it up. You stopped him and went, you said it was possible on either a globe or a flat Earth. He's like, well, right,
Yep.
well, I'll see that as my opportunity to move forward with my story, but leave it in false dichotomy that it could be possible on a globe, even though it's unequivocally only possible on a flat Earth by virtue of my own measurements. At that point, it's like, I'm not debating with you anymore. Like, so unless you'll be allowed to take it to false dichotomy, or unless you'll take the unequivocally flat measurements and describe them in an if statement, you won't continue debating. Nope, not talking anymore. And then he ran away. I was like, either accept that you're measuring flat Earth and reject this notion of if statements and false dichotomies, or we won't continue the conversation. Either concede you're measuring it flat, like you did, or bugger off. And he chose to bugger off.
Yeah, I think we all caught that, Chocolate, though. You're right to ask him that. And if you listen to that conversation, he comes in by saying, oh, if you're so worried about him rounding out, I got a story to tell you, you know? And then he just went on. But kind of slick how they use, they always worry about Nathan rounding out. So let me get my story in there. I didn't think anybody would catch anything. It's out of his mind.
There's a third example where a guy's talking about being a pilot, and he's saying his navigation system shows the longitude and latitude system on a ball, and that's the ground below his plane. There it is. It's proving that the ground is that ball in the program. So then we say, okay, well, what are the lines on the ball in your program that you say is the ground proved to be spherical by this example? Well, it's the latitude and longitude grid. How do we measure it? Well, with elevation angle measurements to Polaris and measurements of the sun off a flat plane. Okay, so it's a flat plane grid system that's been wrapped around a ball. Ergo, the ground that's given you that system described spherically in your program, claimed to be the ground according to you by a little proofsy in your aeroplane, is actually a measurement of a flat Earth. Response, can you all guess, given this is the third example? It's not the ground. So what's the ground when it's a ball in a computer program? But when we point out how the ball in the programs come from flat Earth measurements, now it's not the ground. Can you all see a pattern?
Yes, sir.
Hard to deny.
I was just going to say this is a pattern that seems to have started from the Black Swan. Just an absolute blatant denial of the physicality of the ground or use of the ground. It's ridiculous.
Yep. Kind of sad.
That's a good point.
There, so we've got three examples. We've got Brenda, we've got the guy in his aeroplane with his globular latitude and longitude flat Earth system, proving the ground spherical until it's shown to measure the Earth flat. And we've got a guy talking about a Lapland expedition, specifically about the expedition and the journey and the navigation and the measurements until it's flat Earth measurements. And then it's not the ground. That's where we're at.
I never thought of it like that. I never thought of it like that. Chocolate's right. It started with the Black Swan.
Yeah, they're still barking refraction. You know, you couldn't make it up. Yeah, you guys, hello. You need the geometric claim of a sphere Earth to ring true in your positive assertion that you've got physicality to Earth as a sphere shape. What's that? It's refracted. So not Earth curve then. These effects aren't attributable to hills then. How'd you prove the hill bit then? If it's not the hill, it's refraction. Meanwhile, you need physical geometry, as was explained at nausea to me on Ballbusters. If you're going to claim that the horizon's representative of the positions that make the latitude and longitude grid on your ball, they better damn well be on your ball, not out on some tangent out in space.
The geometric horizon on a curved Earth, but does not follow.
Yeah, you can't have it. We've only got one horizon, and the horizon in there, begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, is below surface level measured with a flat plane. The difference between eye level and surface level giving you that geometric position that does not exist below surface level. It's an absolute sham.
Where do they go from here?
They just keep tucking us further and further down the lists of searches in YouTube. Because the world at large is just being perpetually brainwashed with more and more material for the ADHD generation of garbage from NASA. That's it. They've ramped up.
Oh, speaking of that, did you hear about that new asteroid they're tracking? This one's going to be devastating.
I'm sure the fear porn is strong in this one.
Don't worry, Neil. If it involves a fall down, it'd be a flat plane. So.
Oh dear. That's right.
Well, as I said,
Which way Is that asteroid going down? Oh boy. So it's not going to go down in this spherical ball we're on, huh? Oh dear.
So there's new fear porn about a light in the sky that's coming to get us, right? What a crock.
Yeah, but that used to have me, boy. I used to be like, oh shoot, life can end at any moment. That's how the dinosaurs were killed. It was a extinction level event, right? Ellie. It was even in that movie, right? Which one was that? Deep Impact or Sudden Impact?
Yeah, they have
When,
parallels.
the asteroid destroyed-
They're always simultaneously releasing two films with the same concept. Just in case one flops, the other one will definitely hit home. So you've got Armageddon and Deep Impact basically coming out at the same exact time from completely different movie houses. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this extended after live, normally earlier show, then this is where we bid you farewell. So, thanks for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, smashing the coffee link, or hitting me up on PayPal and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!